Okay, so let's cover some altcoins. This has been due, I think I skipped last week's altcoin coverage, so this week we're going to do the altcoin coverage again. We've been in a downtrend for a bit, so I think you can expect that some of these trades are going to be, or some of these altcoin charts are going to look a bit rougher, but I'll explain why exactly I think they still look good to trade. Let's just dive into that here. So we're going to dive straight into my watch list. Here we are. So first off, we have Sui. Part of the reason I think this looks strong is, of course, Sol, right? So we look at something like Sol USDT.P, Sol perpetual contract. There we go, right? We look at Sol, another layer one, right? Just leading the way, rallying an insane amount over the time that Bitcoin is it's rallying, but it's not doing the same in the last few days, so to speak, right? So if you compare Sol over the last few days, is still up 25%, and Bitcoin is up 5, and it's down 11. Well, Solana continues to rally, and then I'm sure that if we check AVAX USD.P, you'll see that this is holding on relatively strong too in comparison to BTC. So with that in mind, I think some of these other L1s will follow, one of them being SU, another one being SAY, right? So these two tokens are holding on to nice levels too. So let me cover them, of course, here in a second. So SUI, I think, has been playing with this range from 1.4 to 1.7. And essentially what you want to see is it continue to hold this kind of VRVP level here, and this mid-range level is kind of the most key level here. And if we continue to flirt with it, continue to hold it, before you know it, we will break out of this and continue to put in new highs, especially with these L1 narratives actually taking on some steam and actually going somewhere. So that's one, and I'll just cover SAY because the setup is extremely similar. Even a bit stronger, I would say. So this is kind of that previous all-time high level, right? Coming in here, retest. You could argue some type of range as well. You could argue something like this. It's kind of rough levels of a range. And similarly, right? So this all-time high level, rejection off of 0.8, 0.9, retest, coming back into the top of creating a new top, holding that previous all-time high, holding it, breakdown, back to the bottom of the range, recovery of this previous all-time high level, holding, big pump off of that level, and I think we can expect to see a similar pump and now legitimately have some follow through. So that's kind of what I'd be looking out here for on SAY. That is SAY. JTO, very strong. I wanted to kind of follow Jupiter. So if we check Jupiter, right, what Jupiter did, very similar, kind of had this range structure, pennant right above that mid-range, and before you know it, we rip out of that, put in a new high, hold that kind of previous all-time high, ICO high, which is kind of what I'm referring to when I say all-time high. I'm referring to this point here. We're kind of holding on to it, and we continue upwards, and that's kind of how I see JTO and Jupiter. I played Jupiter very well. I'm expecting the same thing for JTO on the basis of it being a Solana beta. So similarly to how we have Ethereum beta, Bitcoin beta, I am expecting if Sol is I think it's currently 4th market cap in crypto, it is kind of the other L2, or it's the other layer 1 that is kind of the next ETH, so to speak, that betas will become a real thing that people talk about on the Solana chain, which currently is not really the case yet. It's just another token. We talk about Jupiter as another token, but in reality, it is just a Solana quote unquote beta play, and that counts even more for JTO, where JTO is literally the same as like a Lido is for, so LDO is for ETH, right? So JTO literally does that, lending on the Solana chain. So I'm expecting JTO to be a beta play for Sol and to continue strength and to play out kind of like how Jupiter did. So if I redraw that, it would be something like this, covering this all-time high and just ripping up. Something like that. So keep an eye on this one. Very nice chart. Really like this chart. And additionally, pretty good narrative, kind of putting some steam in the engine. Big time, big time. So these are fib levels. We can delete those. Boom. What are we looking at? Kind of like a major range, bottom, quarter, half, 3/4, top, right? I actually quite like this chart. I also think the narrative in gaming, etc., is going to take off. So that's why, kind of an additional layer of why I like this. It is trading kind of rough. We're seeing a lot of liquidations here. The trading it is kind of tough out of cleanliness. It isn't the cleanest looking chart, you know, a lot of wicks, not the cleanest levels to play. But if we kind of recover or we hold on to this level, I would just play it level by level, come up to here, come up to 0.7 level, and slowly just take profits. It's a nice chart to trade. It doesn't move the cleanest, but I do like the chart here on the higher time frames for a next leg up. Alt, am I in this? I don't remember being in this trade. I think it's one of those drawings I always make. I actually quite like this. I haven't looked at this in a little bit, but this looks template trend line. This looks a little bit like some meme pennant structure coming into this order block. So I actually really like this chart right now, right? So what we have here, this is drawn wrong. Same type of situation as we just covered on big time, but on a different chart, of course. Bottom of the range, quarter, half, 3/4, top, right? So that's how the range is set up. Now we have the mid range here. We have this nice order block, as you can see right here, order block drawn, all-time highs put in, test back to the order block. Very, very nice buying, right? So you can see all this is bought up, some type of consolidation, lower time frame occurring here, right? Some consolidation into this kind of meme pennant building up, and before you know it, we break out here, take this liquidity up here, and that's essentially a guaranteed all-time high, right? So alt looking very, very nice actually. So I'm going to drag this up to the top. I'm going to drag SUI down because I like say more. I don't want to cover this again, so we're just going to go there. Pyth, one of my biggest whiffs probably. You know, I bought some leverage perps here. You know, I traded up to the mid-range or top. At the time, this was top of the range to me. Traded up to here, kind of got out, broke those all-time highs. Thought, hey, you know what? I think this is going to retest this properly, come down here. I'll buy a spot bag here. Ripped up without me. Came back down. I think I traded this actually. On that, I did trade this on perps. I remember that. Got out early though, before we kind of at these all-time highs here. Got out. I was very happy I got out. That's why I remember, because of this, right? I was very happy I didn't get fucked on that. And then recovery and just continuation without me being able to buy that spot bag I'd been wanting to buy for so long. So it's the reason it's in here is just because it's so strong, right? So if you're scalping or trading lower time frames, this is a great chart to trade. Very strong. I'm not trading it. I don't have much to say on it except buy dips. It just looks so strong. Manta. I really liked this chart for a while. I still do. It looks good. Essentially, you can see a lot of these charts I'm picking are based on that they're relatively new. There's not too much price action, but they're trading very clean. And you can see a lot of them doing the same type of thing, which is ranging in the beginning, having a strong narrative, and eventually just taking out these highs and putting in, 1 to 200% on these highs, right? So that would be from here, for Manta, 1 to 200% would send it up to $6, $7, right? 100, $8, $9. Final target would be like 10 or something on Manta for me. So what are we looking at here? I think you can see it on daily fine, right? So you're bottom of the range, top of the range, middle of the range, retesting middle range now. If we can see continuation here, we have a lot of strength. We can delete this order block actually. And we can see strength in just kind of these all-time highs being put in. So lower time frame, you could have taken a long here. If we retest this, try to take a long off this key VRVP level and go for that. One of the problems for me is you could see something like what I'm about to show you on Dimension occurring here, where it just becomes a full range before we actually put in those highs, right? So we retest the bottom of the range again. And but overall it's clean. Play it kind of like how you would play JTO. And this is what I mean by it could turn into a dimension. type of trade. So this dimensions, dim, DYM, top of the range, bottom of the range, middle of the range, very clean. Liquidations, bottom of the range kind of put in, retest, break over, kind of threatening those all-time highs, break back down below this middle of the range. You can see we tried to hold on to it, ultimately failed, and now we're back at the bottom of the range, giving you a good chance to accumulate spot, right? So I didn't want to do what I did with Pyth on some of these other ones. I kind of want to play Pyth the way I play TIA, which is, take those cheap orders when you can, right? So I wanted to accumulate spot, or I should have accumulated spot down here, similar to, I've spoken about it before, but what I did with TIA, very different time frame, because with TIA I did it within 2 days. I accumulated a lot at $2.30 or something, around here, and I was just accumulating as this came out around this area, right? So I accumulated, and then we just ripped. And then, unfortunately, I've talked about this before, but around $6, I sold most of my bag, and the rest is history, right? And then we were up at 20 a few weeks later. So you don't win them all, you don't play them all perfectly, but that's kind of why I want to play these other narratives, these other tokens that have a similar market position, but also a similar technical analysis structure, and I don't want to kind of whiff them, even though it's on the higher time frame. This looks exactly like TIA did on the 4 hour, right? So what you want to do, for me, what I want to do is accumulate here, not financial advice, of course, and that's kind of my plan for it and what I want to do. So I keep saying what you want to do, but it's kind of because I'm talking to myself at what I would have wanted to do on other tokens, or what I would do, and what I want myself to do. So, and then finally, Beam. I remember tweeting about this, saying the chart might look kind of cluttered the way I have it drawn. Reason is, you have these two channels kind of conflicting each other. So you have this upward channel that's being traded perfectly, and then I have this other diagonal channel downwards that is also being respected quite well. The reason I like this even more is because recently they had a 12 million token burn, I think $12 million worth of the token. And I expect more beam burns to come. So with that in mind, plus just the chart overall on the daily, this looks good, right? So you can kind of see, sure, when the VRVP pops up, this is, of course, a key area. I've been tweeting about it a lot and talking about it a lot on my Telegram. At this area, I was like, look, guys, whether you like it or not, this looks fucking good, right? So on the weekly, these wicks, like this consolidation, this indecision, is going to break one way or the other, and I was leaning towards the sides that it was going to turn out bullish or break out bullish, so I had accumulated quite a bit at the bottom of the range here during this kind of pennant phase, and I tweeted out it one last time. I was like, this looks like a breakout, or I think I put in a Telegram group and not tweeted, and before you knew it, this ripped. I sold most of it at the top of the range, what I thought top of the range was at the time, sold a lot here, and another one of those quote unquote mistakes where you sell it for 30%, let a little bit run. I think I sold everything around here, and then it does another, whatever this is, 30 from here, 40. Those are kind of the main charts. And then we have some more here. Front, man, I could go over how I whiffed this, but that's just embarrassing. It's again taking profits too early, right? I think a lot of us do that, and you can't blame yourself for it. But this is just an amazing chart. If you're scalping lower time frame, this might be the move for you, But I was over here, lower maybe even. It's just one of those charts where you're like, what? Why was I not in this anymore? But okay, let's cover Blur. I covered this recently, also my Telegram. How it never quite moves according to how I want it to, or how I expect it to according to my trade plan, and I can't really trade it properly because of that a lot of the time. Nice range setup actually here. So what you kind of want to see is some type of appropriate retest of that middle of the range, coming down to here, maybe retesting that VRVP level, key level, and just coming back up and doing something like this. Really like this chart actually, like the token, like what's behind it. Zeta, this is a good to play token in my opinion. What I would like to see is a good retest of this VRVP level, and then kind of go up from there. Astra, Main reason I'm still looking at this one, and honestly it has lost most of my attention, is that this does not look like a top to me. This just doesn't. This looks like a top. This does not. This looks like we're going to consolidate here, come up and eventually kind of tighten this up and just rip up for new highs and then put in a top. But that does not look like a top to me. Nitron, honestly, this looks very nice. Very nice chart. How you play it, it's up to you, but take it from me. Very strong trend. Continue that trend similarly, right? So you can kind of see how this seems like a fractal of this or more of this on a lower time frame, right? So if I zoom in on this, I'm sure it looks very similar, right? So we go to 4 hour and you can see how this and this looks a lot alike. So I don't play fractals too much, but ultimately they do show something, and I think this can pretty easily decide to just rip up and put in new highs. So Nitron is one to keep an eye on. Liquidity, I don't love this token, but I had one of my biggest plays last year, right over here on this 60%. I just bought it on the order block and it just ripped up, exited near the top, 2.2, something like this, exited, sat down behind my desk, on the ground, and I was like, wow, that was a nice play. So, and that was within the matter of like an hour, 30 minutes, and it was just in and out, and I had a great day that day. So, yeah, reason was, major range, ETH beta, quote unquote. So what you kind of like to see, so ETH lending essentially, right? And if this mid-range is such a volatile area where something like this happens, I was expecting or hoping that, if we hold on to this level and we're continue flirting with it, before it's just like this and it just rips, right? And that's kind of why. So this one is interesting to keep an eye out once it does the proper moves to set up for that. Numiere, honestly, just very strong, parabolic moves, retest of this kind of order block level here, nice retest and continued strength. You kind of want to see this hold on to this level and come up here. It has some resistances to face, some order blocks, etc. But it also has liquidity to take above here. Definite liquidity up here, so you kind of want to see it take these out. If you want to see a downtrend, it would also be healthy, right? So for a downtrend, same thing. If we do this and then reject back below these levels, it would just mean it lost a bunch of momentum and it's setting up for a downtrend. So this is a nice chart either way, but I think this looks quite bullish, higher time frame, good momentum still. And if you draw a parabola, I'm sure that this is holding on to that, right? TIA, not so bullish. This honestly can go into X-Scam. Head and shoulders kind of forming up, lost momentum. What you want to see is, I tweeted about it literally today, a few hours ago, is you want to see this find its footing. And once it does, right? Once it does, it'll continue up. But for now, this is not something I'm looking at to trade upwards. It's just looking like it lost that kind of momentum, this parabola momentum that Numiere is still holding on to, for example. Pendle, similar to TIA, right? It's lost that momentum that other tokens are still holding on to, like Front as well. And for that reason, I'm not too interested in trading this right now. Although it's still clean, if we flip this, hold on to this, before you know it, we're back here, and then it's just a clean range that we can break out of, and those are always nice breaks, right? So for a lot of these, you want to just look at that range and look if it breaks bull, if it's holding on to key levels. I think that's kind of what it comes down to on alts. Keep an eye on spot, especially on BTC. If that TWAP turns on, like today, it looks like that TWAP is turned on again, and we just slowly print and print and print and print and print. 6% from all-time highs. Before you know we're there, before you know these alts rip. Keep an eye out. And that's about it, Keep trading, be diligent. I think some things have lost momentum, and for that reason, you don't want to just ape in. That's what it comes down to. And yeah, that's about it. So trade away, check out the Twitter, check out Telegram. Indicators are in there. I'll be making a video about what some of these new indicators I have I kind of covered them in the market overview, so you can check there what this indicator is. And the high volume nodes is my own script. The script is for free, available in Telegram, so check that out as well. Telegram is right on the screen right now, TME/Boomish Capital. Trade on WooX if you want reduced fees and, of course, to support me. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to see you guys around.